20 Hollywood stars who were actually jerks in real life. You'd never recognize today. What if the wholesome heroes and lovable sweethearts you've idolized your entire life were actually terrifying monsters behind closed doors? We are pulling back the velvet curtain to expose a chilling reality. Hollywood's biggest A-listers aren't who you think they are. From violently abusive family men to untouchable divas who ruthlessly destroyed lives for sport, these beloved icons use their billion-dollar smiles to hide a trail of pure, unapologetic cruelty. You will never look at your favorite blockbusters the same way again. Prepare to have your ultimate illusions violently shattered. Welcome to American Icon Stories, where we uncover the darkest, most shocking secrets of Tinseltown. Before we expose the brutal truth, hit that subscribe button, drop a comment below, and buckle up. Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is undeniably a cinematic titan, a star who practically defies gravity and age on the big screen. But behind that billion-dollar smile and the adrenaline-fueled stunts lies a meticulously controlled off-screen persona that has left many deeply unsettled. His unwavering dedication to his controversial beliefs reportedly cast a heavy shadow over his personal life, creating an intensely restrictive environment during his marriage to Katie Holmes. When Holmes ultimately walked away, she didn't just file for divorce. She orchestrated a highly strategic escape to shield their young daughter from that demanding world. Cruise's uncompromising nature has also violently slipped during live television broadcasts. In a notoriously tense 2005 interview, he aggressively dismissed the entire medical field of psychiatry as a pseudoscience and publicly shamed fellow actress Brooke Shields for using medication to survive postpartum depression, labeling her actions irresponsible. While his box office dominance remains absolute, these visceral moments of imposing his rigid worldview on others reveal a man whose real-life intensity can feel far more intimidating than any action sequence he has ever filmed. Ellen DeGeneres. For nearly 2 decades, Ellen DeGeneres was the undisputed ruler of daytime television, building a multi-million-dollar empire on a simple, universally beloved mantra: be kind to one another. She was the ultimate comfort watch, radiating warmth, generosity, and effortless humor. However, in one of the most staggering falls from grace in modern Hollywood history, the curtain was violently pulled back to reveal a backstage reality that was anything but kind. Behind the cheerful dancing and bright studio lights, former employees exposed a deeply toxic workplace culture fueled by fear, intimidation, and profound disrespect. The very woman who preached compassion to millions was repeatedly described by staff members and celebrity guests as icy, unapproachable, and entirely disconnected from everyday reality. Rumors of bizarre backstage rules, such as strictly avoiding direct eye contact with the host, completely shattered her relatable, down-to-earth image. When the avalanche of allegations finally forced her iconic show to an unceremonious end, it wasn't just a cancellation, it was the total collapse of a carefully manufactured illusion. Ellen's spectacular undoing serves as a chilling reminder that in the glitzy world of television, the warmest on-screen smiles can sometimes hide the absolute coldest realities. Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson was once the undisputed king of the box office, an Academy Award-winning powerhouse who commanded absolute respect in Tinseltown. From the heroic heights of Braveheart to the rugged magnetic charm of the Lethal Weapon franchise, his star power seemed completely untouchable. But that golden legacy was violently incinerated by a series of self-inflicted explosive controversies that exposed a deeply disturbing off-screen reality. The glittering facade first cracked during an infamous DUI arrest, where he unleashed a vicious anti-Semitic tirade that shocked the globe. The situation spiraled into pure horror a few years later when leaked audio tapes caught Gibson hurling deeply racist, misogynistic slurs and terrifying death threats at his ex-girlfriend. This wasn't just a PR nightmare. It was a visceral unmasking of uncontrollable rage and bigotry. Hollywood, an industry notorious for forgiving bad behavior, swiftly blacklisted him, turning one of cinema's most revered titans into a radioactive outcast. Gibson's catastrophic downfall serves as a brutal testament that raw talent and massive box office appeal can never permanently mask a toxic, hateful character. Charlie Sheen was television's ultimate golden boy, reigning supreme as the highest-paid actor on the small screen, while raking in an astronomical $1.8 million per episode for 2.5 Men. Yet, beneath the charismatic, lovable bad boy persona he monetized so perfectly, a deeply chaotic and destructive reality was rapidly boiling over. Driven by severe substance abuse and a titanic, unchecked ego, Sheen's personal life completely devolved into a public circus. He brazenly and aggressively attacked the show's creator, Chuck Lorre, using bizarre, highly insulting language that ultimately forced the network to fire their biggest cash cow. Instead of showing an ounce of remorse, Sheen embarked on a surreal, highly publicized media tour, rambling maniacally about having tiger blood and claiming he was winning while his empire burned to ash. Coupled with harrowing allegations of physical and verbal abuse from his ex-wife, Denise Richards, his spectacular meltdown proved that all the wealth and fame in the world cannot save a star actively determined to destroy themselves. Christian Bale is widely revered as one of the most dedicated, chameleon-like actors of his generation, famous for pushing his physical and mental boundaries to dangerous extremes for his art. However, that obsessive perfectionist intensity harbors a terrifying dark side. In 2009, the world caught a shocking glimpse of his real-life temper when a leaked audio recording from the set of Terminator Salvation went massively viral. Bale was captured unleashing an apocalyptic, profanity-laced tirade against the film's director of photography, simply for accidentally adjusting a light and stepping into his line of sight. For nearly 4 agonizing minutes, Bale screamed visceral insults, relentlessly bullying the crew member and aggressively threatening to quit the production entirely. While defenders often write off his explosive outbursts as the unavoidable byproduct of intense method acting, the sheer, unbridled hostility of the audio painted a vastly different picture. It revealed a volatile, uncompromising star whose ferocious ego and uncontrollable rage can instantly transform a collaborative, multi-million-dollar movie set into a profoundly hostile and intimidating environment. Julia Roberts. With her iconic megawatt smile and undeniable on-screen charisma, Julia Roberts spent decades comfortably seated on the throne as America's ultimate sweetheart. Yet, beneath that infectious charm and legendary box office dominance lies a notoriously abrasive behind-the-scenes reputation that sharply contradicts her lovable rom-com persona. Whispers of diva-like entitlement have shadowed her entire career, peaking infamously during the production of Steven Spielberg's Hook. Her conduct on set was reportedly so deeply unpleasant and erratic that the deeply frustrated crew secretly branded her with the searing nickname Tinker Hell. Her fiercely demanding nature didn't stop with the crew. Roberts has famously engaged in bitter, highly publicized feuds with heavyweight co-stars like Nick Nolte, who openly labeled her as not a nice person. Even her own brother, actor Eric Roberts, has candidly discussed how her massively inflated ego fractured their relationship. It turns out that the magnetic, relatable warmth she projects so effortlessly on camera is simply a masterclass in acting, effectively masking a harsh, demanding reality that has left many industry colleagues reeling. Gwyneth Paltrow. Gwyneth Paltrow seamlessly transitioned from Hollywood's Golden Girl and Academy Award winner to one of the most polarizing and heavily criticized figures in modern pop culture. While she once enchanted audiences with her elegant on-screen grace, her real-life persona has become entirely synonymous with staggering elitism and a profound detachment from everyday reality. Through her highly controversial wellness empire, Goop, she has relentlessly pushed bizarre, exorbitantly priced lifestyle advice that completely alienates the average person. She famously ignited massive public outrage by aggressively claiming that being a wealthy celebrity mother was vastly more difficult than working a regular 9-to-5 job. A deeply tone-deaf statement that showcased her breathtaking privilege. Behind closed doors, her reputation takes an even darker, more abrasive turn. Paltrow has faced numerous allegations of blatant disrespect towards service workers, reportedly refusing to speak directly to restaurant staff because she deemed them completely beneath her status. She unapologetically operates in an impenetrable bubble of immense wealth, boldly declaring she couldn't possibly pretend to be someone making a modest income. Paltrow's spectacular shift from America's sweetheart to an out-of-touch aristocrat proves that possessing raw acting talent doesn't automatically grant you a single ounce of self-awareness or basic human empathy. Chevy Chase. Chevy Chase is an absolute titan of late 20th century comedy, practically defining a generation of laughter with massive blockbuster hits like National Lampoon's Vacation. However, his affable, bumbling on-screen charm completely masks a chilling reputation as one of the most viciously despised men in Hollywood history. Chase is universally notorious for his shockingly cruel, relentlessly antagonistic behavior that has left a smoldering trail of burned bridges across decades of television and film. His catastrophic early stint on Saturday Night Live was brutally marred by a violent, physical altercation with Bill Murray, directly ignited by Chase's deeply personal, unforgivable insults. His toxic reign of terror didn't mellow with age. It continued decades later on the set of the hit sitcom Community. There, he ruthlessly bullied cast members and boldly hurled vile, racist remarks at his co-star, Donald Glover, allegedly claiming people only found Glover funny because of the color of his skin. Instead of showing an ounce of remorse for the massive damage he has inflicted, Chase has proudly and aggressively stated he simply doesn't give a damn about his reputation. His undeniable talent for making audiences laugh is tragically eclipsed by a bitter, unapologetic cruelty that ensures almost no one in the industry wants to be in the same room with him today. Edward Norton. Edward Norton is widely celebrated for his brilliant, transformative performances in cinematic masterpieces like Fight Club and American History X. However, his staggering intellect and undeniable acting prowess come attached to a notoriously toxic, controlling ego that has alienated some of the biggest studios in the world. Norton's relentless need to micromanage every single aspect of a production frequently transforms him from a lead actor into an overbearing, hostile shadow director. This obsessive, arrogant perfectionism reached a catastrophic boiling point during The Incredible Hulk. His aggressive attempts to rewrite the script and hijack the entire creative process resulted in a brutal, highly public firing by Marvel Studios. Marvel's president, Kevin Feige, issued a stinging, unprecedented statement explicitly citing Norton's severe lack of collaborative spirit. Furthermore, Norton has been heavily criticized for aggressively attempting to steal screenwriting credit on films like Frida, ruthlessly diminishing the hard work of actual writers. Norton's career remains a frustrating paradox, a generational talent whose massive, unyielding ego constantly sabotages his own brilliant legacy. Reese Witherspoon. For decades, Reese Witherspoon meticulously cultivated a flawless, utterly charming America's sweetheart persona, dazzling global audiences with her bubbly Southern grace and approachable charm. However, that carefully curated innocent illusion was spectacularly and violently shattered in 2013 during a deeply humiliating traffic stop. When police pulled over her husband for driving under the influence, a highly agitated Witherspoon refused to follow lawful orders, aggressively confronting the arresting officer on the dark street. The profoundly embarrassing police dashcam footage captured her wielding her A-list celebrity status like a weapon. She arrogantly threatened the officer with the infamous, fiercely entitled phrase, "Do you know my name? You're about to find out who I am." This stunning display of raw Hollywood privilege completely incinerated her down-to-earth image overnight. While she has spent years aggressively attempting to rehabilitate her billion-dollar brand through massive PR campaigns and public apologies, that unforgettable viral moment exposed a shocking, elitist reality. It proved that beneath the delightfully sweet girl-next-door smile lies a terrifying level of unchecked entitlement. Jennifer Lawrence. Jennifer Lawrence skyrocketed to global superstardom by perfectly playing the ultimate relatable cool girl. With her infectious laugh, clumsy red carpet moments, and unapologetic love for junk food, she convinced the world that she was Hollywood's most down-to-earth best friend. However, beneath that meticulously crafted, goofy exterior lies a shockingly abrasive reality that has left countless supporters deeply disappointed. Lawrence has openly and boldly admitted to intentionally treating her fans with aggressive, icy hostility in public. When approached by the very people who built her multi-million-dollar empire, she purposely transforms into a glaring, unapproachable wall of rudeness, flat-out refusing interactions with biting sarcasm. While she claims this fiercely defensive behavior is merely a necessary survival mechanism to protect her privacy, her unapologetic candor often crosses the line into pure, unchecked arrogance. It brutally shatters the charming girl-next-door illusion, proving that the relatable heroine you idolize on the silver screen might actually be an intimidating nightmare if you ever dare to say hello in real life. Tommy Lee Jones. Tommy Lee Jones has built a legendary cinematic legacy playing stoic, fiercely intimidating tough guys. Unfortunately for anyone who crosses his path, the terrifyingly cold, no-nonsense demeanor is not a brilliant acting choice. It is his actual, everyday personality. He is notoriously despised by entertainment journalists and fans alike for his aggressively impatient and intensely dismissive attitude. But his absolute lack of basic professional courtesy reached its most toxic peak when dealing with his own co-stars. During the production of Batman Forever, Jones developed a visceral, unhinged hatred for Jim Carrey's vibrant comedic energy. In a now infamous confrontation at a restaurant, Jones reportedly grew visibly enraged, refused to even shake Carrey's hand, and coldly delivered the soul-crushing declaration, "I hate you. I really don't like you. I cannot sanction your buffoonery." He didn't just dislike his co-star. He actively sought to crush his spirit to his face. Jones stands as a chilling monument of Hollywood elitism, a man whose undeniable gravitas is completely eclipsed by his bitter, unyielding cruelty. William Shatner. William Shatner will forever be immortalized as the brave and heroic Captain Kirk, the legendary leader of the USS Enterprise in the Star Trek universe. However, his off-screen legacy is almost entirely eclipsed by a reputation of staggering arrogance and deeply selfish behavior. For decades, his former castmates, most notably George Takei, have brutally exposed Shatner's toxic reign on set. He was notorious for throwing massive diva-like temper tantrums, aggressively cutting lines from his co-stars, and using his unchecked authority to ensure he was the absolute center of attention at all times. But the ultimate irredeemable breaking point for his public image occurred in 2015, during a moment of profound real-world tragedy, when his legendary co-star and supposed lifelong friend, Leonard Nimoy, passed away. Shatner made the shocking, cold-blooded decision to completely skip the funeral, choosing to attend a charity gala instead. This breathtaking display of public callousness deeply alienated his remaining fan base and permanently cemented his status as Hollywood's ultimate egomaniac. Shatner's story serves as a visceral, heartbreaking reminder that the charismatic heroes we idolize in the stars can sometimes be incredibly petty, deeply self-absorbed men here on Earth. Charlie Chaplin. Charlie Chaplin is revered around the world as a great pioneer of film comedy, bringing joy to millions through his lovable, clumsy little tramp character. However, behind that smile and iconic mustache was an intensely perfectionistic, demanding, and sometimes difficult individual with a personal life marked by many ups and downs. On set, he was known for his exacting standards, often placing immense pressure on actors and crew. He famously required up to 342 takes for a single scene in City Lights, and did not hesitate to make changes in personnel if he felt his standards were not being met. Even so, his professional intensity was not what drew the most public attention. Chaplin's personal life was frequently surrounded by controversy and public scrutiny, particularly regarding his romantic relationships. He was often involved with women significantly younger than himself, at a time when he had already become a powerful and established figure in the film industry. These choices, along with ongoing speculation about the complexities of his personal relationships, contributed to a deeply contradictory public image. Chaplin may stand as one of the greatest symbols of the silent film era, but his private life reveals a far more complex individual, one shaped by fame, power, and personal decisions that at times made his legacy more controversial than ever. John Wayne. John Wayne is the ultimate symbol of rugged American masculinity, celebrated for decades as the unwavering, heroic cowboy of the silver screen. However, the man behind the myth harbored deeply toxic, unapologetic prejudices that aggressively contradicted his honorable on-screen persona. In a truly shocking, career-defining 1971 interview with Playboy magazine, Wayne completely unmasked himself, brazenly declaring his belief in white supremacy and spouting vile, openly racist rhetoric against Black Americans and indigenous populations. He didn't stop there. He also weaponized his platform to hurl deeply homophobic insults at modern cinema, famously labeling the film Midnight Cowboy as perverted. His terrifying aggression wasn't just limited to magazine pages. During the 1973 Academy Awards, when Native American activist Sachin Littlefeather bravely took the stage to decline Marlon Brando's Oscar and protest the treatment of Native Americans, Wayne was reportedly so violently enraged that it took multiple security guards to physically restrain him from charging the stage to assault her. Wayne may be immortalized as a cinematic legend, but his legacy is permanently stained by an ugly, fiercely hateful reality that completely destroys the illusion of his heroic frontier charm. Joan Crawford was the absolute epitome of Hollywood glamour, a fiercely determined Oscar-winning titan who clawed her way to the very top of the studio system. Yet, her legendary ambition was fueled by a ruthless, unyielding cruelty that terrified both her peers and her own family. She famously engaged in a vicious, decades-long feud with co-star Bette Davis, utilizing deeply vindictive physical sabotage on the set of Whatever Happened to Baby Jane to purposefully humiliate her rival. But the true horror of Crawford's character was hidden behind the closed doors of her immaculate mansion. In the explosive, deeply traumatizing memoir Mommy Dearest, her adopted daughter Christina exposed Crawford as a violently unstable, physically and emotionally abusive tyrant. She detailed chilling accounts of midnight beatings, sadistic punishments over trivial matters like wire hangers, and an unhinged obsession with absolute control. The memoir revealed that Crawford weaponized adoption merely to cultivate a sympathetic public image. The glamorous starlet who dazzled audiences in the spotlight was, in reality, a terrifying monster who inflicted unimaginable lifelong trauma on the very children she claimed to love. Bette Davis. Bette Davis was an absolute powerhouse of cinema, renowned for her electrifying performances and her ability to completely dominate the silver screen. However, her off-screen persona was just as fiercely abrasive, making her an absolute nightmare for almost anyone who dared to cross her path. She possessed a venomous, razor-sharp tongue and a staggering lack of empathy, frequently utilizing her immense star power to completely terrorize directors and co-stars alike. Her infamous lifelong blood feud with Joan Crawford remains one of the darkest, most vicious chapters in Hollywood lore. Davis didn't just compete with her rivals, she actively sought to crush them, openly mocking their talent and physical appearance with ruthless, calculated precision. Her temper was notoriously volatile. She once unleashed such a scathing, apocalyptic public tirade on a director over a minor, accidental bump that her sheer volume completely cleared out half a restaurant. Bette Davis proudly embraced her label as a deeply difficult diva, wielding her unyielding arrogance like a weapon and proving that the chillingly cold, unapologetic villains she played on camera were merely a brilliant extension of her own unforgiving nature. Bing Crosby. Bing Crosby was the ultimate undisputed symbol of mid-century American comfort. With his smooth, velvety voice famously crooning White Christmas and his trademark pipe, he meticulously crafted a flawless public image as the nation's warmest, most easygoing family man. However, that pristine, wholesome illusion was violently shattered by his own flesh and blood. In a devastatingly raw tell-all memoir, his son Gary exposed Crosby as a profoundly cruel, emotionally detached tyrant who subjected his children to a terrifying reign of physical abuse. Behind the grand closed doors of their wealthy estate, the beloved entertainer enforced a chilling regime of extreme militaristic discipline, frequently beating his sons with a heavy metal-studded leather belt. His deeply ingrained cruelty wasn't reserved strictly for his family either. On set, he was notoriously arrogant and incredibly stingy, routinely dismissing exhausted crew members just minutes early, solely to avoid paying them their full daily wages. Crosby's horrifying double life serves as a visceral, heartbreaking reminder that the most comforting angelic voices in the world can sometimes mask the absolute darkest of monsters. Gene Kelly. Gene Kelly is universally immortalized as the graceful, smiling king of Hollywood musicals, effortlessly tap-dancing his way into the hearts of millions in the timeless masterpiece Singin' in the Rain. However, behind the breathtaking choreography and infectious on-screen joy lay the dark reality of an unyielding, tyrannical perfectionist. On set, Kelly was an absolute dictator who ruled through brutal intimidation and sheer psychological endurance. His treatment of a then 19-year-old Debbie Reynolds remains one of Hollywood's most notorious tales of backstage cruelty. He relentlessly mocked her lack of formal dance experience, hurling harsh insults and forcing her to endure staggering, marathon-length rehearsal sessions. Kelly pushed her physical limits so violently that she was famously found sobbing hysterically under a piano, her feet literally bleeding through her shoes. He displayed absolutely zero empathy for her agonizing suffering, strictly prioritizing his flawless, cinematic vision over basic human decency. The euphoric, rain-splashed magic that global audiences fell in love with was entirely manufactured. Built directly upon the severe physical and emotional torment he ruthlessly inflicted upon his co-stars to achieve absolute perfection. Lucille Ball. Lucille Ball completely revolutionized the television industry, charming a deeply devoted nation as the brilliantly hilarious, wildly expressive star of I Love Lucy. She was universally adored as America's favorite, relatable redhead. Yet, the very second the studio cameras stopped rolling, that lovable, goofy warmth instantly evaporated, revealing a shockingly cold and deeply elitist aristocrat. Ball possessed a staggering superiority complex and frequently treated working-class individuals with blistering, unapologetic contempt. In one famously humiliating incident, a polite flight attendant attempted to speak with the comedy legend directly, only for Ball to turn her head and coldly order her assistant to deliver a soul-crushing message. "I'm sorry. Miss Ball doesn't speak to the help." Her icy, domineering reign extended well into her personal life, where she aggressively controlled her children and openly terrorized anyone she deemed beneath her elite status. Even Hollywood heavyweight Richard Burton once famously recoiled from her deeply abrasive presence, explicitly describing her in his private diaries as a monster of staggering charmlessness. The undisputed queen of American laughter was, in reality, a profoundly arrogant diva who fiercely despised the very everyday people who built her empire. The glittering facade of Hollywood is built on a foundation of carefully guarded secrets, but as we've seen, the truth always claws its way out. These titans of cinema gave us unforgettable magic on screen, but left a trail of toxic destruction in their wake. Now, the ultimate question is yours to answer. Does their undeniable artistic genius excuse their horrifying real-life behavior? Or should true legacy be measured by how you treat people when the cameras stop rolling? Who disappointed you the most on this list? Drop your thoughts and spark the debate in the comments below. If you crave more untold dark truths behind the velvet ropes of Hollywood, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for American Icon stories. We'll see you in the next scandal.